Hey, Holiness family, Shalom. We're going to go ahead and get started. I was trying to wait a little while longer for our brother Bakuria to get on because he asked a question yesterday that got me to thinking. Um, he had asked a question relative to the difference between the simulated reality and the organic reality. And when we got off the call yesterday, I gave that some thought, and I suspected that Bakuria was not the only one that needed clarity on differentiating and understanding the difference between the simulated reality and the organic reality. This is not a it is a very important subject. It's imperative that we have clarity of thought when it comes to this this vital concept of the simulated reality and the organic reality. And right away, I catch myself speaking dualistically, and I think this is where some of the confusion comes in, and that we have to straighten that out. And I gave it some thought, and Bakuria used the matrix. He used the word matrix. And I thought that was a good starting place. And to straighten up the language and to use uh, more holistic language. Now, see, we've been saying simulated reality, which is dualistic and paradoxical in itself.
Okay.
And I think it causes a little bit of confusion. If something is simulated, it doesn't, it means that it is not real. so
Absolutely. Right.
it's a kind of confusing term, and I think we need to straighten that out. And I attempted doing so in the title because I think by him using the phrase matrix, that he had a fundamental understanding of what the simulated reality was, or at least a fundamental element of that. And but this term simulated reality, I mean, I can understand it on a certain level, but to someone that is just being introduced to it, it might be kind of confusing because it is paradoxical by definition and therefore dualistic. So the title I chose was Defining the Matrix and How Our Mentality Simulates Reality. So the only reality from an absolute standpoint is the organic reality. But if you are under deception, what is simulated becomes real to you. So, in a sense, I can understand why we were using that term, Nasi.
Well, Eitai, I understand what you're saying, but we didn't clarify that numerous times, and it doesn't hurt because that's exactly how I understand it. And
Correct.
you're right about the
Correct.
dualistic way of, but there's a good way to help those who may be not understand it on this wise. But this is
That
exactly how I understood it.
right. That's what like I said, some of us that have made ourselves familiar with this, Nasi, and put and had a sufficient amount of time to conceptualize this, those types of terms, they don't bother us, but it might be some confusion, and I
I'm
think
clear.
it is. So we just wanna arrange this so that we are all on the same page and all on the same understanding. So
Excellent.
uh, so I chose the title "Defining the Matrix and How Our Mentality Simulates Reality." So it puts it more uh, in terms of a process of breaking this thing down. So the first thing that we want to define is the word simulate. Is the word simulate, and I understand that we've defined this before. Nasik has been careful to define it, but again, we just want to make certain that we are all on the same page and take another look at this just to press pause for a minute, call a timeout, and make sure our team that we on the same sheet of music. All right.
Go for it.
So the word simulate is means to imitate the appearance or character of. To imitate the appearance or character of. And this word character, I substituted the word nature because for me, now see, this whole journey began by wanting to know and understand the true nature of reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what I'm saying is that I want to be able to identify the organic reality. And
Right.
this is, I think that this is the perspective that we should all have. But since we are in the simulated reality, we're going to start there first. All right. So to simulate, again, means to imitate the appearance or character or the nature of. So then the simulated reality is an imitation of the organic reality.
That's exactly what it is.
It appears to us at a certain level of consciousness to be reality.
Let's say at a lower level of
That's
consciousness,
correct.
it appeared to be
It
reality.
appears to be reality, but it is actually something that is being imitated,
There you go.
reproduced, replicated, or
That's
duplicated.
right.
All right, as the synonyms suggest. So we've seen the astronauts simulating the conditions in space. All right,
Right.
they are not actually in space, but they've created a set of false conditions or a false environment that what imitates space,
Give the appearance. Right.
gives the appearance, and I
Mhm.
see the feeling.
Yeah.
More importantly, the feeling that you are in space. Same way
Yeah.
with a flight duplicator or simulator. When you're studying to be a pilot, it
Right.
simulates uh, the feeling, the mental state. Listen, the mental state of flying or the mental state of being in space. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we go on. Other synonyms mean artificial, imitation, fake, mock, synthetic, and more importantly, man made.
Yes. Right.
Because we're going to understand that it is our mentality that does the duplicating,
Yes.
that does the replicating,
Right.
that does the that creates the artificial or synthetic effect and we're fooled. This is deception. We're fooled to thinking that what is what? Fake, false, imitation, or invalid is what? Real and valid.
That's what deception is. And now, see, now all this, what you just said, can only take place when you what? Create the perception of a mind.
That's correct.
That's the mentality. The mind becomes your mentality.
That's
That
correct.
what's occurring.
That's correct. So I hope everyone sees this so far. So it says man-made family, man-made, and again, your mentality is what is producing
Right.
the effect. So simulated leather, we used to call that pleather, play leather, but it looked like leather. In some cases, it felt like leather. You put it on
Imitation.
and you wore it. You felt like you was wearing leather,
Right. But it was imitation.
but it was imitation. And other people might have been fooled by the same thing. Man, look at the brother Sharp.
Right.
Every time I see him, he in a leather jacket.
Right.
You know, the other definition is just as important to produce or make a computer model of. All right, a
Mhm.
computer model of. So this Nasi all has to do, we're going to see, with the brain. With the brain. All right. But let's go back further. We're going to define matrix. And this might surprise many people. We're going to define the word matrix because most of us, when we think of matrix, Nasi, we think of the movie, not the definition.
Yeah, probably so. Right. Right.
We
Right.
think of the movie, The Matrix, and that's good because
Yeah. Yeah.
we're going to see that movie follows these definitions very
Uh,
carefully. They just put it in imagery. They just put it in imagery and an account or a tale or a narrative. Now, I want you all to write down the words account and the word tale, Tale. Very important. This language, Nasi, you know, it's we know it's difficult, but they hide so many of the secrets.
yeah, that's where it's here at any language.
All right. So let's look at the definition of the word matrix. Here we go. Remember, I said, write the words account down,
Yeah.
L, and also
Right.
write the word tally, Tally.
Yeah.
It says countable noun,
Mm-hmm.
gives us a hint. A
Yeah.
matrix is the environment or context in which something such as a society develops and
And
grows. Now, but we've been saying this over and over again. Societies, cultures, belief systems, religion, all of all of those elements that we associate, Nasik, as natural
right.
are actually doing what? Acting as an environment to develop something, to develop something, to program something, to train something.
Yeah. To develop something.
And development is taking it away from the natural.
That's why. There we go. There we go.
It's
There we.
removing it from the natural.
There you go. There you go. I remember back here recently we mentioned that this word development had to be understood within the correct context. Other than that, you hear development, you think that's something good, you
That's
know?
correct.
Right.
That's correct. And so the example is the matrix of their culture.
Right.
So culture is designed to do what?
Wow.
Form you and move you. It's an element
Right.
of what we call civilization
Right.
that moves you away from the natural.
There you go. There you go.
Again, in mathematics, this is very important. A matrix is an arrangement, Nasik, of numbers, symbols, or letters in rows and columns, which is used in solving mathematical problems. See, we touched on this yesterday.
Yep.
This is this language. You are not going this that number, symbols, letters, and that those are all things that are you can find on your computer keyboard. Look down and see numbers,
That's
symbols, letters, what arranged in rows and columns,
absolutely.
and is used to solving mathematical problems. This is why, by the use of language, because the matrix is made up of these things. Now, see, and
That's right.
you will not get out of it. The language, they're designed to lock you in.
That's what the language right. Designed to lock you in. Excellent. Excellent.
Now we go on. Look at the archaic. The matrix is the womb or the uterus. That's what it originally meant. The womb or the uterus.
So that really expands things right there. That really expands things.
So, but now see, we've already laid the foundation of this,
Yeah,
that
buddy.
we are not created beings.
Right.
This is the only reason, family, that we can have this conversation is because we are not creative beings. We are not creative beings. We did not originate from the womb. We came from the outside of the matrix.
Yeah.
Matrix is is related to the word etymologically is related to the word matron or maternal
Right.
or
Right.
material.
Right.
Material. We emanated into the matrix. This is why it's so important, family, that we understand and accept that concept. Because if we don't, our conception of it is going to be off. It's going to be incomplete. You all with me?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't originate. We did not originate. We did not come into this world by means of the womb like that. That was not our original beginning. It was what? Beyond the womb. And the
Yeah.
womb and the mother is the one that delivers us into the material world of the matrix.
Absolutely.
Now, I've just defined what the matrix is and what the simulated reality is. And the genesis of the simulated reality begins in the womb. It's
Yes.
transferred from your mother. Now, see, if she's unconscious, to you. If
Yep.
she's at a lower level of consciousness,
Got
whatever
to
she's
transfer
thinking, feeling, vibrating is going to be automatically transferred to you.
automatically.
This is what we talked about. We referred to this when we said that, when I made the statement that uh, in the beginning, Nasi, our parents used to, they could create us. They could draw us forth, what, from the cosmos, and
Yeah.
understand, look, if they needed a prophet would be born.
Right. Right.
If they needed a judge, like in the case of Samson, a judge would be born. And it always began in the tale, or the biblical tale, or the account. Y'all got to be with me, that the mother could not give birth, that she said God had closed her womb.
Right. Right.
Y'all got to meditate on that.
Yep. Yep.
And then the mother began to consciously what? Call forth something in her praying to God, call forth what? What was needed.
Yep. Yep.
And then you have these great men being born. Now, see, from birth, understanding their purpose,
Right. Right.
understanding how they were going to function in the matrix, and then either accomplishing that and being successful or not. So, this term uterus, very accurate. And so, just like the uterus, the elements of civilization are designed to do what? To develop something, to cause it to grow, correct?
Right.
So the second definition is related to this idea of the universe, I mean, the uterus, that within which, or within and from which, something originates, takes form, or develops. So, from a physical standpoint, that would be that our initial matrix is our mother's womb. Very
Right.
important. Very important. And this is why, now see, the way back has to go through the divine
Absolutely.
feminine element.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is
That's how you
absolutely
get in,
connected.
and that's how you have absolutely.
All right. Now, Bakuria mentioned the matrix. And like I said, sometimes we think of the movie, right? So we're going to go to the movie and the birth scene, all right? Because I thought that this is him leaving the Matrix family and going back to what the movie tells us is the organic reality of a place called Zion.
Mm-hmm.
Now notice, he's going through a mirror, a looking glass. This is a popular theme. Alice through the looking glass.
Yeah.
He's really, family, going back into himself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why the Matrix is man made. It was made up, his whole world was made just like ours. In the physical reality, is made up by our mentality, our conditioning, our development, what? Within culture, within society, within religious systems, within political systems, within economic systems, y'all name them. Those are the elements of the matrix. We assume and we accept them, Nasi, as real.
Absolutely.
This is why it's so difficult, because they've been real to us before we were born. Transmitted what? Through the womb of the
Right.
mother. So the looking glass. Someone on here, I think it was one of the sisters, was like that they encountered their mother in a mirror.
Yeah, I was there. Right.
And
Somebody did
you
say
know,
that.
this is a popular thing because it the reflection now is the reflection real, or does it just simulate how you look? Very deep concept there. We'll get back to that a little bit later though. He asked him, "Did you ever have a dream that you were so sure that it was real?" What if you were unable to wake from that dream? What if you couldn't become conscious?
How would you know the difference between the dream and the real world?
How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real one? How are you going to know the difference between the simulated reality and the simulated world and the organic reality unless you wake up, unless you become conscious?
This can be what? Be real?
It's going into replication.
Hey, boss, still nothing. Let's go. Tank, we're going to need a signal soon.
I got a fibrillation.
Eitai, location. Targeting almost there.
He's going into arrest.
Lock, I got him. Now, Tank, now.
Did y'all see him fall into himself?
Okay.
The perfect representation in reverse. He was still in the womb, so to speak, being what? Living the in a simulated world. But when he went backwards and fell into himself, he woke up what? In the organic reality, and understood that since birth he was in the matrix. Are you all with me?
Okay. Eitai,
Yes,
you said he went backwards.
that's correct.
That 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 brought to mind of the Sankofa symbol, the
Abs-
Sankofa bird symbol.
Absolutely. And that's another movie that, and of course it was from the perspective of slavery and going back to Africa. That's what
Right.
that's what they want us to believe. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you that right away. That's what they want us to believe. That whole back to Africa thing is a deception. I'm going to show you in the book of Numbers that it is. We're focusing on the mother, the feminine aspect,
Yes.
the
Mm-hmm.
matrix. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So in the matrix, let me ask everyone a question. The feminine was replaced by what?
I never saw the movie, so I can't
No,
respond.
no, no, no. I'm just saying in the simulated, uh,
Oh, oh, absolutely, the male, right,
it's replaced by the masculine, right? So
right, right.
they
Mm-hmm.
they want the deception now, and the distraction would be to remove you or to distract you from the feminine aspect, which which is the doorway,
Right.
which is the doorway, family, into and out of the matrix. That's just what you saw.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
But they want to
Mm-hmm.
change it to the masculine.
right.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important. Now let's look at the
Very.
etymology of the matrix. Go ahead, Nasi.
No, no, no. That's absolutely correct.
Go ahead. So now look, as of the late 14th century now, all right, which would be the 1300s, it was still being defined as uterus or womb.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
Uterus or womb that had the connotation of something being pregnant. All right, womb. Also source, the way back to our what? Organic source. Family, not our lineage in terms of how we've been programmed, and
Right.
we've been falsely programmed. I'm gonna show y'all.
Mm-hmm.
This is our cosmic origin. What is hard for us, Nasi, to accept.
Yeah, not for
Mm-hmm.
me.
When we start
Not for
talking
me either.
about stars and star children and you know
Right.
SUN and SUN, people, hey, y'all way out. Y'all too way out. But we
Yeah,
look, yeah, I am way out. I'm
yeah,
outside of the simulated reality. I'm coming
right.
from
Yes.
the cosmic reality. You're right. I'm
Absolutely.
way
Yes.
out because I want to get way out. I don't want to stay within the defined matrix, what I was
Mm-hmm.
developed under, what I grew under. It means the source and the origin from mater. Remember the word matter, meaning mother. Come
Mother.
Mm-hmm.
on now. This is what we've been
Mm-hmm.
saying. The sense of a place or medium where something is developed is first recorded in 1550. Come on now. Y'all should know this by now,
Mm-hmm.
the shenanigans.
Right.
It was moved, family, away from the mother, the divine
Mm-hmm.
feminine, and now see, abstracted
That's right. That's right.
to a place, not a person, to a place
But
or a medium where something is developed.
yeah.
The sense of embedding or enclosing mass, first
Mm.
recorded in the 17th century. Again, 1640. The logical sense of array of a possible, listen to this, in the logical sense, family, of array of possible combinations of truth values.
Wow.
Not a singular truth, but an array of
Right.
possible combinations is attested from 1914 as a verb in 1951.
Right.
Come on now. We see the okie doke being played.
Yes, yes.
But we're going to move forward and take a look at the scriptures to where, and this was one of the first places, family, that we were moved away from the organic reality. We didn't even see it. We didn't even see it coming. Numbers. Well, of course, where else would it be?
Right.
The first chapter, verses 18 through 20. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. Listen, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of not their mothers, but their fathers.
Wow.
I'm gonna let that marinate right there.
Now, just a connection there. Go back to what we mentioned yesterday to pay close attention to her story to his story. And he lays it out and how everything was tied to the mother.
Now, see, this is what this is talking about. Our ancestors laid it out for us. So that when we became conscious enough that we could go back and decode this and find out and find the correct way out. It's not going to be out through your fathers. Now, every one of the major religious systems,
every one of
them, make your connection through the father.
Absolutely.
And look, if y'all don't think that we do that, brothers, in the kingdom, in Hebrewism, you are not Ben Devorah.
Right.
Y'all Ben Devorah. Or Ben Amitsa. Or Ben not none of y'all, not none of us. Don't think that you've been incorporated in a false reality. Now see, this is too comprehensive.
Yeah.
By the house of their father, you know, and this, remember, now see, that this whole thing is created by our mentality.
Absolutely. The masculine dominant mentality.
Yes.
That's it. According to the number of their names, from 20 years old upward by their polls. Very important. This guy, when I started, now see, to decode this word polls got my attention. Got my attention because it is going to relate to the word skull. It's going to relate in English to the word skull, indicating that this is all mental.
Yeah.
That this is a mental process. We've all been incorporated in it. As the Lord commanded Moses, so he numbered them in what? The wilderness of Sinai. When we see that term, all we got to do is think of the Matrix.
Yeah.
The wilderness of Sinai. That this is where the programming begins. And the children of Reuben Israel's eldest son, by their generations after their families, by the house of their fathers, by the house of their fathers,
Mm-hmm.
according to the
Mm-hmm.
number of their names, by their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war.
Wow.
The only place you fight, family, is in a dualistic environment.
That's the only place.
Yes. Yes.
Only place.
That's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose.
And this is the purpose of having sons to go to war
That's
to fight on behalf of the dualistic simulated reality.
see, look, and I see, and to build it, to further it, to expand it. That's what that's what Bain means, a builder.
That's right, right. That's right.
So we've heard this term, the more familiar place we've heard this term, the number of their names, is in the book of the Revelation. And we got all spooky, religion, that matrix, we get all spooky and all scared when we hear this, but this is the same thing that happened in the book of Numbers.
Knock on.
That what? The Lord commanded Moses to do.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what it says?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book of Revelation, now see, we get all scary and start talking about the Antichrist and the devil and all that kind of stuff. This is religious programming.
Right.
And it's based on, it's the only way it can be done is because of our ignorance
That's all.
of our own science and these symbols that our ancestors left us to get back. Revelations 13:16 through 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or
Nah.
in their foreheads, or in their foreheads. Now, I know what we've been taught, and
Oh, you know what we've been taught, right?
every new development, Malkiel, of computer technology,
Right.
ID technology. Ooh,
Right.
mark of the beast. Ooh, that's the mark of the beast. Y'all have already been marked.
Already been
Right.
marked.
God had already been marked, already developed within what? The simulated reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All of us. And that no man might buy or sell, save that he have the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. This is the same terminology that was used in the book of Numbers. Am I not correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. We must know her story to understand this. We gotta educate ourselves in her story and his story, family.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because we've only been told one half of it. That's the beast. Melanated man.
Melanated man.
Mm-hmm.
6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons.
That's it.
12.
That's
Carbon
it.
12.
Yeah.
Let's go. Now, see, this is talking about when we look at this, and we won't go through a detailed account of this because I don't want to get this thing, I don't want to get it convoluted by giving a lot of information. We just want to stay on one track. So it is based on a 10-digit number system. We were all programmed. Our first accomplishment was what? When we was little. Oh, he can count all the way up to 10.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is programming us into the matrix. The Hebraic letter system is the most telling because there is no 11. There is no idea of 11. You go from 10, the 10th uh, letter, which is Yud, and then the next letter is not 11, it's 20. And then it
Right.
goes, it increases what? In
Yeah.
increments of 10. In
And yes.
increments of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is the hexadecimal number system used to program all computers.
Yep. Absolutely. 0 and 1. Mm-hmm.
Are y'all with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can.
So this is what this is about, family, and it's reflected. See, we look at the 11th letter, which is Kaf, all right? Which is Kaf. And in terms of your biology, look, the organ that Kaf, it's called the hollow of the hand, right?
Yeah.
Where do you
Mm-hmm.
receive one of the where's one of the places you receive the mark, but in your right hand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kaf, number 20 in Hebrew, the hollow of the hand, is ready to receive all that comes. Just program me. Program me with, now I'm ready to receive it. Program me with whatever the society or the particular culture or the particular economic system, school system, religious system, I'm ready to receive. I'm programmable now. Y'all got to see this. The organ endowed with organs of information and a system of regulation that permits it to be governed to govern its activity according to defined directives, preconceived definitions.
Mm-hmm.
However, the culture defines it. And there are a multiplicity of cultures. Am I not correct?
Yes.
A multiplicity of societies, a multiplicity of religious systems. But we're programmed from the womb to accept the one that what? That dominates the particular environment that we emanate into. See, if you do not accept the fact that you emanated in here, you have no hope.
Right.
You have no hope
Mm-hmm.
because you are part and parcel of the simulated reality. Just like those agents, Malkiel, in the they were
Mm-hmm.
part of the matrix.
Right.
They were the ones that fought against the individuals that what had the power and the ability to emanate in and out of the matrix. Y'all got to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
The aberrant man is the only one that he is part of this matrix. We created him to be
Yeah.
part of the matrix in order, Nasi, to perform a function. COF 20 is in reality the physical container, the material world, the material
Mm-hmm.
body, the dividing line. It is the basis for reason in a man. Y'all not hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
His ability to separate and analyze. His ability to separate or operate what? In the dualistic matrix. Do y'all get that?
Gang.
That is the mark in the right hand. The mark in the right hand. One of the definitions again of matrix, excuse me, is this idea, family, of something produced by a computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your brain and the mind that is developed in the brain, the program that is put in the brain, is based on what? Number systems and codes. All right? And you're going to see that the number system, the alphabet that you use, they usually have you count up to 10. But what you're actually doing is going from 0 to 9.
Yes.
It don't matter
Yes, Eitai.
as long as you name 10 symbols or 10 digits. It doesn't matter. You can start
Mm-hmm.
at 1,
Mm-hmm.
but it implies, family, 11. It implies 11, and 11, I'm sorry, bear with me because this thing keeps, and 11 is the number of the sun. And we've already said that the sun, the solar system, is what? Part and parcel of the simulated reality, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Moving forward. These are called digits. Digits. The basic operations. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, similar. Those are all aspects of the right brain, the right function of the brain. All right? Which relates
Mm-hmm.
exclusively to the simulated matrix because it's all based on numbers, letters, like on your keyboard, symbols.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We won't go into that. I want to go here. Okay. Binary, octal, decimal, and hexadecimal systems. Listen, computer systems. Now, is the reality on your is what you see on your computer screen a simulation or is it the organic reality?
Simulation.
It's a simulation. These things are so
Mm-hmm.
sophisticated now that when you get into the NBA games and Madden, you actually look. They make the characters look and move and act what just like the real thing, but it's a simulation. But it fools your mind. All it is numbers and symbols interacting within what? A matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Computer systems regularly use numeral systems of bases other than 10. Base 2, binary, base 8, octal, base 16, hexadecimal. Numeral
Mm-hmm.
systems are used because designing a computer system is similar in this manner than for other bases. So they're just saying it's simple to program your mind if you use the right program. Binary numbers are the core of all computer operations. Unlike a decimal number, which is 10 digits, a binary number is made up of only 2 digits, ones and zeros. When you look at the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, that's what you see. When we used to play
Yes.
the old video games, family, we used to play the old video games and it would get dust in there and they would freeze up. You would see them numbers, a combination of what? Zeros and ones
Mm-hmm.
that made up the game, the particular world. What do you call it? The simulated world or the virtual reality that you were playing, whether it was football or baseball or tennis or whatever it was. Are you all with me?
Okay.
Listen, it is very easy to represent binary values in what? Electrical circuits and computer systems. We just got through talking about the electrical aspects of our body, what, in relation to the divine feminine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
A high voltage can be used for one and low voltage for zero. Watch this. I'm going to show y'all what we already showed you. And low voltage for zero. Let's go back, family, for a minute. Remember, these symbols here, this bird here, right here, looks like he's got another symbol, is representing a weak field or low voltage. Are y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
That supports what? Interacts with the falcon or Horus, which represents a strong electrical field. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
So our ancient ancestors were telling us in how this thing is constructed and how it operates and how you operate within it. Again, the electrical nature of birds and their anatomy explain the following principles of electric stars. That's you. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
This concept is explained in further detail by Horace. We saw it. We saw it. So these things, this matrix is based on this. Our ancestors were showing us this. Listen, all human beings, all persons who reach adulthood in the world today are programmed biocomputers. This is why, family, in the book of Numbers, it said individuals that were at least 20 years old and what? Upward,
Mm-hmm.
able to go to
Mm-hmm.
war.
Mm-hmm.
They were thoroughly programmed within the matrix, and so are we. Every male from 20 years old. Well, what about the females? Well, we know
Right.
they're just showing us that the feminine what was removed because it's according to their father's name and their father's house. They're showing us that even at this point that we think is ancient, that her story ceased to be told and his story was told exclusively. We've been programmed, all of us. We've been programmed.
Eitai,
Yes, sir.
it's it's, it's interesting. You showed us that the number one has high voltage
Yes.
and the zero has
Rep-
low voltage.
right.
And remember what I shared, the symbol of the feminine masculine energy.
Yes.
The masculine energy is one.
Right.
The feminine energy is zero. And even in their programming, they got the masculine dominant over the feminine.
That's correct. But it says, I just want to make it clear, it said it can be used. It can
Okay, I got you.
but your
I got
point is well taken because they
you.
chose they it shows the programming. They didn't say they said it can be used high voltage. It should have said it can be used for zero instead of one. I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know, it just shows this subconscious programming. Right. Absolutely correct. All human beings, all persons who reach adulthood in the world today are programmed biocomputers. None of us can escape our own nature as programmable entities. That's what you become in the material world. You are a programmable entity.
Mm.
Literally, each of us may be our programs. Each of us may be our programs. Nothing more, nothing less. Listen to that. Each of us may be our programs. This is the case. See, Malkiel, we can be walking down the street together,
Mm-hmm.
and here comes a guy walking a dog, and I get all scared. I'm jumping off all on the curb. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a psychological state, and you just
Mm-hmm.
walking along, and you like, hey, and you rub the dog, and you looking at me like I'm crazy. But I've been programmed to fear dogs, right?
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
And it could have happened. I don't even know why I'm scared of dogs. But when my mother was pregnant with me, family, she was walking down the street, and a dog almost attacked her, and she had to climb. She had to run and climb, and that emotion, that energy,
Yes.
was what
Yes.
transferred to me.
Yes. Yes. That's real, shows. That is real.
Are y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Absolutely.
it might be the first time I'm interacting with a dog in my life, but for some reason, I'm terrified.
Mm-hmm.
We are each our own programs. You have a certain reality relative to a dog, and I have my own reality relative to a dog.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But we are each what? Programming an organic reality. Despite the great varieties of programs available, there is a great variety. Most of us have a limited set of programs. Some of these are built in. In the simpler forms of life, here we go, the programs are mostly built in from genetic codes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is why they got to reprogram you. The genetic codes are derived from where, family? Come on. Y'all should know this. Where do we get our genetic codes?
From my DNA.
From what kind of DNA? Mitochondrial DNA
Mitochondria.
from the
Yes.
mother.
Yes.
From the mother. Are y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it was switched to the house of their fathers. not the house of their mothers.
Right.
Because
Right.
they want to keep you what? Trapped within the matrix. Trapped
Mm-hmm.
within the matrix to do what? Continue building it, continue expanding it by your experience. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
This is the simulated reality. In simpler life forms, the programs are mostly built in from genetic codes to, to fully formed adult reproducing organisms. The patterns of function, of action reaction. Remember, that's what Nasik was talking about the other day relative to cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Were and are determined by necessities of survival. Survival where? Within the simulated material world
Mm-hmm.
of adaptation to slow environmental changes, of passing, look, the code to descendants, not
Mm.
ascendants, family,
Right.
descendants.
Right.
What? You
Mm-hmm.
going down deeper into the matrix,
Mm-hmm.
falling deeper into the material physical world. Eventually, the cerebral cortex appeared as an expanding new high level computer controlling the structural lower levels of the nervous system, the lower built in programs. For the first time, learning and its faster adaptation to a rapidly changing environment began to appear. Now, they are counting this to evolution, physical evolution. I'm accounting it to evolution, what? In spiritual consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we have the pineal gland
Mm-hmm.
that was always there but was calcified, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or dormant and becomes activated. How? When we rise in spiritual consciousness. And that organ becomes activated, the same with the cerebral cortex. It just didn't appear. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, learning and its faster adaptation to rapidly changing environment began to appear. Further, as this new cortex expanded over 7 million years, so it's talking about several millions of years. You know that I ain't talking about nobody but melanated people, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because the aberrant man didn't appear, he wasn't created until what?
Right.
Around 7,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
A critical size cortex was reached. A critical size cortex was reached. Listen, at this level of structure, a new capability emerged: learning to learn.
Mm.
Y'all got to think about that. This is exactly what we're doing: learning to learn. And that all that is saying, family, if you think about it, we are learning to teach ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
remembering really what we already know, remembering what we already know. So here we are back to the Wadjet or the all-seeing eye, the eye of what? The eye of Isis, the divine feminine, family. If we turn it this way, it looks like the yoni, a fish, or the yoni or the womb, correct?
Okay.
And we looked at that yesterday. We looked at another um, representation of the eye of Isis that was compared to the womb, to the vagina. The following images illustrate the similarity between the eye of Horus and the limbic system of the human brain. Again, your mentality, your brain controls the reality. The limbic system is composed of the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the cingulate gyrus, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, and the corpus callosum. There goes your Pleiades, Malkiel.
Okay. Gotcha.
Seven, the the
Mm-hmm.
the uh, the seven elements or the seven stars.
Yes.
Are
Seven
y'all
stars. Yes.
as
Mm-hmm.
above, so below?
Yes.
This never gets away
Mm-hmm.
from us. Continuing
Come
on,
on. Come on, Sean.
continuing on, you will notice the Eye of Horus has 6 components, actually 7. All right, but we'll stick with this. Representing the senses: smell, sight, thought, hearing, taste, and touch. All of these things unite into one, the seventh, right? Called
Mm-hmm.
perception. Called perception.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all with me? Because,
Yes.
family, it is our perception of stimuli, of what's called
Mm-hmm.
physical or environmental stimuli, that what? Creates a simulated picture or definition
Mm-hmm.
of what that is. And it could be different. It could be the same stimuli, Malkiel, seeing a dog
Mm-hmm.
walking down the street. But my perception of it is different than yours.
Right. Right.
Dualism, dualism, variation. And Malkiel, we could have an argument or dispute about that.
Right.
And why you being a sissy, man? It's only a dog. Man, I'm scared of dogs. What you scared of dogs for? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely,
Oh, man,
Shows.
you ain't nothing but a punk, man, scared of a little old dog. Man, who you calling a punk?
Right.
We go to war.
Right.
Why? Because my perception of the stimuli, I'm saying it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying what? It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of us has to be correct. It is all a simulation. Are you all saying it is a simulation in
Yes.
Malkiel? It's a simulation in me.
Okay.
We're both right, and neither one of us are right. Why?
Right.
Because it's just how we're processing and perceiving what? Information.
Mm-hmm.
Smell, sight, thought, hearing, taste, touch, all combined as perception of what we family perceive as external. What we perceive as external to us. Me seeing the dog walking down the street is being projected on the screen that is internal to me only. And it's obviously Malkiel ain't seeing the same thing. Y'all got
Wow.
to hear me.
Wow. Wow.
The programming and reprogramming of the human biocomputer. So the simulated reality family, what we're really saying is that that it is not outside somewhere. It is internal, and it is a function of your mentality, a function of your perception, a function of how you process stimuli, sense stimuli, smell, touch, taste, etc., and so on. A possible helpful framework and technique for breaking out of oppressive, culture based, repetitive mind programming, because that's what we've all been subject to. To approach meta programming, one must be open minded and able to engage one's inner voice. That's where this begins and ends, family. To
Absolutely.
one's inner voice and interact with it as a computer programmer writes software. Point blank, period. The way in which metaprogramming works is that one relaxes and changes the level of activity in the mind down to minimal limits. This is achieved in many different ways. The most immediate and practical would be meditation. Some people, family, need to do this to slow down this what? Action reaction
Mm-hmm.
that continuously goes on mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Other methods involved binaural sound, because sound is a part of the simulated reality. Lights, psychedelics, we talked about that yesterday. Music,
Mm-hmm.
breathing, and many others.
Yeah.
The ideal environment for what they call mind reprogram, we're just going to let that stay there. We understand what they're trying to say. Is
Mm-hmm.
having one's hemispheres pulsing in unison. This is this balance that you was talking about yesterday, Malkiel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This promotes what? Healthy regeneration, symmetrical synapsual connectivity, and more balance within one's own thoughts.
Yes.
More balance within
Yes.
one's own thought. Now, this is
Mm-hmm.
the principle, the Kemetic principle of Mayat, where we get
Mm-hmm.
mathematics from. And
Mm-hmm.
mathematics, family, is simply trying to balance
Yes.
all of the elements of this matrix so that we can what? Make sense out of them and move through them.
Yes.
It is at this level, listen, one can control the mind with precision and acuity. In other words, you can control all of your mental processes and they will not control you. The motivation intent of the programmer must be exact and true to what? The deep self. It must be exact and true to the deep self, to your higher self, to install
Mm-hmm.
properly and function. The mind is a myriad of swirling programs. This is the best definition of the mind that I've ever read, that I've ever come across. It is a myriad of swirling programs. Listen, beginning with the first input data that entered the brain from when? From conception. Isn't that what we've been saying?
Mhm.
That is where the matrix has its inception. The birth experience, although hard to recall, installs many emotional programs and memories that feed back over the life journey. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Over the course of human being, one gathers a huge nesting of interlocking, interacting mental loops. Interlocking, it says a huge nesting of interlocking, interacting mental loops. Courses and wide spiraling evolutionary bioalgorithms. Some of these are dangerous programs designed to cloud over and darken the mind into depression. Well, that is actually what it does. And
Hmm.
suicidal realms where one can lay for many years or lifetimes at a time. If one does not self-destruct entirely, they can recognize the programs running, isolate them, and uninstall them. This is what is necessary. But you
Yes.
cannot do this, Malkiel, if
Hmm.
if you are conceptualizing what? The matrix as real.
Right. Right.
Continuing on. Another way would be simply write over or grab the source code, the raw emotional bits of data, and flip them into positive or negative vibration. Now, this is the path that my Esau and I chose to do. Simply to write over the programs,
Hmm.
get them to work for you.
Hmm.
And this is the approach I take. Many programs are installed automatically by what? By
Culture.
culture. By culture. And the television is the primary device, and it is hyper-tuned to achieve society level mind programming. But a lot of times, family, we don't focus on the culture. We just focus from the standpoint of the culture. We focus on what? Television and movies, right?
Hmm.
And we
Hmm.
focus on
Hmm.
that and we ignore the programming from culture.
Hmm.
To notice the programs and how they affect you, simply turn it off for a few days or months and notice how your thoughts begin to change. Many large thinkers through time have deemed culture and society. Why? Because it was before the invention of television. That's just a convenient scapegoat for us. Deemed culture and society as negative and self-destructing. It can be useful to uninstall these programs in aid of what? Regaining control of our mentality, not the mind, but getting on top of that, getting beyond the mind.
Hmm.
Continuing on, the metaprogramming language is the personal dialogue. You ain't praying to no God. You talking to yourself.
Right.
The personal
Right.
dialogue within, and we won't use mind, within the being, within the being,
Mhm.
within you, there is always the silent witness. You must aim towards this level. It is present through all reality. It is constant. This silent witness is the one that is always observing and saying, hey, don't do that. And then we ignore it and we say, what? Dang, something told me.
Mhm.
We must focus on that inner voice. It is constant down through the layers, look, of sleep and consciousness. How many people have had lucid dreams?
Mhm.
Lucid dreams where you say, hey, I know I'm asleep. I'm lying here in the bed, but look at that unicorn with that lady on riding over there. I wonder what that is. I wonder what that means. How many people have had those types of dreams?
Yes, I have.
That is
Dang. Yep.
that is your higher self that is always with you. That is your knowing, family. That's your knower. That is the observer. And it is constant through the layers of sleep and unconsciousness. This is why Morpheus, Morpheus, the god of the sleep and dream world, in the Matrix, was talking to him about, well, what if you couldn't awake from sleep? So he was waking Neo up. It was that aspect of Neo that what? Ruled over the simulated reality that was waking him up. It goes through deep void and nothing. It records all. The mysterious eye of the supra cosmic being. Family, this is what we're trying to connect to. Splintered into infinite form, and you are one of them. You emanated in as a splinter or a portion of a divine, holistic, cosmic consciousness. Hard for us to understand. Hard for us to accept, because we've accepted simply the fact that we were born, and then when we die, it's nothing else. I mean, anybody else thought about that? Anybody else taught that? This is the way into fabric and vibration of self. Into fabric and vibration of self. This is what Bakuria mentioned yesterday, uh, the wave turning into the particle and the particle turning into the wave, where deep emotional resonances still dance and flow, dance and flow. This is where fear and love vibrations live forever like musical notes. When data, that's sense data, inputs from above, the resonances rise, influencing the consciousness and its real time experience. When it comes from above, from higher levels of consciousness, from higher frequency, the problem is in many people, those centers, those energy centers, are not activated. And so everything comes from what? Below, beneath, from the root chakra, family, from the sacral chakra. And it
Mhm.
what? and it colors, it influences, colors real-time experience. But remember, we did the definition of influence. Anybody remember? Influence. What was that defined as? Anybody remember? Where does influence come from? Comes from the stars, y'all. Influence, influence is an ethereal fluid held to flow from the stars and to what? Affect the actions of humans. This is you in charge of the programming, sitting above everything. Everything what? Coming from above and affecting that which is below. Like causes produce like effects. And it's affecting what? It's your level of consciousness that is affecting real-time experience. It's creating the matrix. It's creating your particular matrix of experience. When the brain, listen, this is what Nasik has been teaching us about. When the brain enters into unique bands of consciousness, not the mind now, but the brain, meta programs consciously written by self, meta programs consciously written by self can install successfully and work for however long they are required. As one gains power through reprogramming, the more complex and deep, that is, penetrating, the effects will become. One can, for instance, program the appearance of the physical self from within to build inside out, not outside in, not allowing the environment to form you, but allowing your what? Your inner self, your higher self to form you and define you. The validity of this must be evaluated by the programmer. In other words, you're the only one that can determine whether it's effective or not. And this too is part of the programming. We are in control when we take control. As an example, one can first program the output goal of brown eyes, including all the various details and parameters. Tune the mind into a relaxed and open state using whatever means available and accustomed to. Run the program inside the mind using the deepest, truest voice that one can, the deepest, truest voice, I think, the one can activate and install the program. You can insert a prompt such as a tone that would, this is reprogramming your mental state. You can insert a prompt such as a tone that will sound inside the psychoacoustical space within the cranium, indicating a successful install. Just like you do a computer when you download something and then it makes that thing or whatever sound it is, you successfully installed the program. You can reprogram yourself just like that. The goal may take a while to achieve, depending on how deep the code is embedded within the reality model or reality engine of the self-conscious being. Going forward, The term human biocomputer, coined by John C. Lilly, refers to the hardware of human anatomy. Now, what is that? It's the brain, the central nervous system, all of that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Nazi has been telling us, it's the hardware. You can't show us the mind.
Mm-hmm.
We can show you the effect of a programmed mind, but not the
Mm-hmm.
mind itself.
Right.
So Nasik is trying to get us to focus on the hardware. This would include the brain, internal organs, other human organ systems such as cardiovascular, digestive, endocrine, immune, integumentary, lymphatic, muscular, nervous, that sounds like the whole person, skeletal, urinary
E-
system.
Mm-hmm.
Eitai,
Yes,
aren't those the things that always we have a problem with?
that's correct.
I mean, it is not the what you call the software, which is the mind. It ain't that. It's the hardware that's always got the
Hardware.
problem. So the question becomes, what's affecting the hardware?
That's right.
Right.
The
Right.
hardware, Nasik, is just running the software. The biocomputer has stored program properties, the self metaprogramming properties with limits determinable and to be determined. I suggest that anything by Dr. John C. Lilly, because he coined this term, the human biocomputer, that you read some of his stuff. This is why I included it here. And it really gets detailed. We're not going to get that too detailed, but we want to focus on this. That's you inside the box. This is what we've been talking about. I see. That's you inside the matrix.
Right.
And now see, it's and again, family, it has these 7 elements, which is actually 8 once you go from 0. And
Mm-hmm.
that defines this thing. We've been talking about this stuff, in so many ways, but it's always, Nasik, again, good to go back and reestablish
Yeah.
things. All right. So let us move forward. Now, this word pole, all right, this word POL that we saw, I said we would get to this. And all this is doing, family, is saying that all this exists, Nasi, within the hardware.
Within the hardware. Right.
Within the hardware. So we'll just take a look at it. Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families by what? The house of their fathers, not their mothers. So we can already see that this is the false matrix.
Yeah.
That's keeping us what? Locked inside the matrix.
Yes.
I'm telling you, we were all trained religiously. I don't care how you call it. Spirit,
Whatever you want.
religiously, whatever belief system you were trained like this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were trained like this. By the house of their by the house of their fathers, with the numbers of their names, every male by their poles. Every male by so we see the divine feminine family was excluded out of any consideration.
Excluded.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So which
Yes.
meant, this is the experience that we've had as a result with women. That it's going to be my way or the highway. You understand what
Right.
I'm saying? That that this is how God set it up. Put the woman under the man and all this. Y'all know it. Y'all,
All that
Yes.
stuff.
because
Yes.
we've all either said it or thought it at one particular point. Undeniable, now see,
Absolutely.
undeniable. So this word pole is the word Google it. is the word Googleth. All right? Or Googleoth. And it refers, it says pole, but it refers to the head of the skull.
Right, right, right.
If we don't, this is what we've been saying all along, family. This is what Nasik has been telling us and teaching us, that this don't go beyond the hardware. And whatever
Mm-hmm.
program you want to put in it to run it, first of all, we got to identify that the program that has been running has not been helping us.
Been
No.
helping us.
That's
That's what I told a lot of people. Helping us.
right. Whatever you want to call it, mind, program, software. Look, we need enough. We need to put another one. Uninstall that one. Eject that one. And put
Right,
another one.
Yes.
right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But we've been trying to deal with this from the position of the mind.
Yeah.
So Google left. It literally means skull. It means the head. All right. It's related, family, to the word sakel. All right, which is another
Sekel, right.
sekel, which is another element from the from the passage or from the context that talks about intelligence. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference, Nasi, between intellect and intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
This refers to the knowledge, family, with inside the box,
Yes.
not outside
Okay.
the box. That
Mm-hmm.
the understanding of that, because it's all based, family, look, on the senses. But now see, they've even removed that from the equation.
Wow. Yeah.
Inside the box. I mean, you thought you I mean you gave that to it. That
Right.
they
They
cart
removed that. Yeah, they removed that.
Francis
Mm-hmm.
Bacon. They've even
That's what they
taken that
Mm-hmm.
out.
removed. Yeah. Right.
Google or Googleth is connected to the word Google,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
meaning to search.
Yes.
Aren't we trying
Mm-hmm.
to find our way back?
Yes.
Right.
And see, now see,
Mm-hmm.
they got us on a false search.
You got us on a false search. Right.
The search
Wow.
should lead back to the mother, but they
Right.
got it leading back to what? The father.
Yeah.
Right. Come on, Shells.
The father don't have no equipment to get you inside and outside. The equipment the father has is one way. The
One
equipment
way. Right.
the mother has is the gateway.
Right.
That equipment,
Wow.
even from a biological standpoint, shoots in one direction.
Right.
So this means to search. It is actually, in modern terms, referred to a search engine. You want to find something out, Nasi, find some
Go to
information.
Google.
We say what? Google it.
Google it.
Google it. That's something, boy. That's something.
The
They couldn't create nothing. You know, all they could do was what? Create a representation of that which is original
That's
and
correct.
organic. And it had to come from a,
Now
yeah.
look, you said it, Nasi. The founders of Google, this guy Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they related the definition of Google. They changed the definition from the original, meaning to organize what? A seemingly infinite amount of information on what they talk about the web. Now, see, I remember you teaching on this long time ago. You had come to Cleveland and you were teaching on how the brain, how the World Wide Web was what?
Right, Eitai, right,
Was based on the brain.
right.
Was based
Right.
on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Family, this is,
that's right.
I mean, this, if we can get this, see, now, see, we already know this. How could you
Yeah.
identify that at that time? You did not know if it
Right.
wasn't internal,
Right.
Right.
Come on, shows. Absolutely.
if you
Yeah.
didn't already know it. You recognize, man, this is a lot like the brain. And then was always emphasizing, family, hey, this mind thing, look, it don't help us. That this is something that's not organic. That's not organic. So again, it says seemingly infinite amount of information. So we get caught and we get lost wandering, searching infinitely, unceasingly, and searching but never finding, family. The word Google is the number represented by one followed by 100 zeros.
Wow.
In mathematics and the imagination, a layman's book on mathematics. See, it's a layman's book on mathematics. They
Yeah.
always going to introduce this is the low hanging fruit to put this in
Yeah.
the general
Mm-hmm.
population.
Right.
Written
Yes.
by U.S. mathematicians, U.S. mathematicians. Edward Kastner, 1878 to 1955. Look at the time period. And James R. Newman, the word supposedly coined a year or two before Kastner's 9 or 8-year-old nephew. Uh, they said that his 9 or 8-year-old nephew came up with this Google. Man, y'all lying because we've traced it to Google it. All right,
Right.
we
Right.
Right.
traced it.
Right.
They
Eitai.
yeah, they trying to connect it. Hey, my nephew's so smart. He's
Right.
Right.
like us. When asked for the name for an enormous number, perhaps influenced by the comic strip character Barney Google. Come on now, y'all, we not gonna let
We
you
ain't,
put that
we
over.
ain't going for it.
We
We
ain't
ain't going for it.
that one right there.
No. No.
So it is traced to the root of galal, meaning to roll or to roll away or to roll down or to roll together. Now remember, we told you to write down the number account, all right? And the
Mm-hmm.
word tail and tally. Tally is
Right.
what? To roll together, to sum up.
Right.
If I
Right.
Mm-hmm.
if I say, now see, give me your account of the story, you're gonna
Right.
you're gonna roll together all of the facts.
Right.
Right.
So galal, it's all of this is related to the Gallup poll, the census. You remember when
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua was born, that they had to go up to they had to go up for what? The census. That a
Right.
census count was man, that's our ancestors giving us. This is how they gonna incorporate you into the matrix. The American Institute of Public Opinion. Now, don't give them facts. We just want to know your opinion on something. And they keep statistics on that now, see, to what?
Yeah.
Continue to
Right.
simulate the reality.
Yep. Yep.
So moving forward as we close, fam, we just wanted to give you an indication of this and how these things were carried forward in the scriptures. They encoded this. Yeshua was exterminated on a cross on a place called Golgotha,
Right,
Mm,
right.
meaning
yes,
that this
yes,
didn't actually happen. This didn't actually happen, religious folk. That this is a process of the mind. That you're gonna have
yes.
to
Yeah.
do what? Eliminate the false man.
Mm-hmm.
Malkiel,
Mm-hmm. Come on. Yes, sir.
and get to what? The true man, the
True man.
rare man,
Hmm.
the inner
Right.
man, the higher self. But that
Hmm.
lower
Yes.
self that we think is real, it's gotta die. It's gotta die.
Yes. Yes.
But this is not talking about no physical death. It's talking about how we have to render this in the mind. I'm sorry, in mentally, rather mentally, how we Nasi have to change the program,
Yeah.
change the
Hmm.
program,
Right,
Hmm.
right.
heal that other
Okay.
program. Now, I want
Right.
to talk to you as we close. I just want to talk very. I want to bring this to a close by talking about this tale, because the story and the science is given in numbers and mathematics and in so-called allegorical accounts or tales, family.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's summing this stuff up for us, tallying it up in a neat little package where we can have an understanding of it and work
Yes.
our way out by working backwards toward the
Hmm.
divine feminine. The word mispar, the word that we in Hebrew is translated as number, means a tale, a recounting, or relation of a particular thing. And I just demonstrated how in Numbers, the first chapter, they recounted what? How we were incorporated into the matrix or the mental state, Nasi, of the patrilineal system.
Anytime.
That is
You know, this point that you bringing out here now, I guarantee you that very few so-called teachers know that this very word here, this very word, mispah, you
uh-huh.
know, has any connection to just what we just talked about.
Wow.
As
Come
we
on now.
close, we gonna
Mm.
we gonna highlight this to a great degree. So the word tail connected to the word mispar, talu, series or calculation. Also story, tale, statement, deposition, narrative. How many times we use this word narrative?
Right.
The action of telling, speech, language. Now, see, this is why they had to confuse we had one tale, one story.
Right,
Hmm.
Genesis,
Hmm.
right.
the 11th chapter, and nothing was impossible for us.
Yes.
But the language was confused. It became what? A multiplicity of diverse languages and therefore diverse speech, accounts, tales, calculations, series. Are y'all with me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's just unbelievable.
The word account now means a report. Who has believed our report?
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?
Mm-hmm.
Connecting us back to what? This Christ energy. He grew up as a tender plant. This is the Son of Man, Malkiel.
Mm-hmm.
Of what?
Mm-hmm.
The cosmic organic
Yes.
reality that we have to connect back to.
Mm-hmm.
The Son of Woman.
Okay.
Actually, the
Mm-hmm.
Son of Woman, not the Son
Mm-hmm.
of Man. If you really
Yes.
want
Come
to
on,
get
Cheryl.
down to it.
Yes. Yes. For real.
An account, now, here it goes, family. It's an arrangement by which a user is given what? A personalized access to a computer. This is what we need.
Right.
And they ask you for what? A username
Username. Mm-hmm.
and a password. And a lot of times they say you can use numbers, the number in
Yes.
the name and the name in the number, right?
Uh-huh.
This is all our ancestors are just talking to us in our own language.
Yes.
So mispar, it has a root word, safar or sapar. And that is the word that is, safar is uh, translated as a scribe, meaning someone that tells, declares, or writes. We got to write our own story, family.
Yes.
But first, we're going to have to decipher all of these different accounts to do what? Get the code because it's encoded.
Mm-hmm.
What we've been doing
Mm-hmm.
is demonstrating that we have the knowledge to decipher these things and
Yes.
to give us the proper codes, what? To reprogram ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to end right here. A scribe is a person who writes books or documents. We're trying to write our own book by hand in hieroglyphics, cuneiform, and other scripts, and may help keep track of records for priests and government. In ancient Israel, as in most the ancient world, scribes were distinguished professionals who could exercise functions we would associate with what? Lawyers, government ministers, judges, listen, and even financiers. As
Mm-hmm.
early as the
Mm-hmm.
11th century BCE, some scribes copied documents, but this was not necessarily part of their job. Their jobs were as programmers. Programmers. So we should all be able to see this at this point and to begin to uh, have the fundamentals, family, in understanding and comprehending this simulated reality. The difference between, I keep using the word simulated reality, between the matrix and the our mental matrixing of what? The organic reality.
Mm-hmm.
Our mental matrixing, or uh, imitation or replication, duplication of the organic reality. So at this point, I'm going to say wholeness. I'm going to stop, ask if there are any questions. Has this particular class helped you in clarifying that, comprehending that mentally?